Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday the 13th. We are not here to talk about anything related to bad luck today. Actually, I'm super excited to be here. We're going to give you the best distraction of your week. I know everyone in this industry and in the world really has had a very crazy couple of days with all of the news. I did want to take just a moment on a serious note and say thank you to everyone for your patience and understanding. We had to make a very difficult decision, an unprecedented decision, to postpone our annual trade show that was scheduled for next week. I certainly know that all of you understand the rationale behind that decision, and we appreciate your support. Please watch your email. We will be in communication just as soon as possible about the details surrounding everything with the trade show. But our first and foremost focus is keeping our members' safety in mind and keeping everyone's best interest at heart. We are here to be a resource for you. And as you've seen on some of our social media platforms, we've been sharing tips and tricks from the CDC and any information that we can share with you from a national level as it relates to our industry. We will certainly continue to do that. If you need anything, have questions or need resources, don't hesitate to reach out to us. That's why we're here. But today we are going to talk about something way more exciting than all of this news sensation. We're going to talk to not a brand new member, but one of our newer members of the GCNKAA, Miss Clare, who is a recruiter with BRG. I just got to meet Karen, I don't know, a couple of months ago or so when she joined the social media committee. So I'm really, really excited to sit down with her today. She is going to distract us for the next little while from anything related to, again, what's going on everywhere else you look on social media. So take a moment, Karen, if you would, and just introduce yourself to everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do with BRG.
So my name is Clare, and I was born and raised in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio area. I have a background in real estate and marketing, and currently at BRG Realty Group as a recruiter. And prior to that, I was an assistant property manager with BRG.
Okay, where did you start? Which property?
Oakwood.
Okay, wonderful. So you mentioned on your questionnaire, one of the questions is how long have you been in the industry? And you said 34 years. And I'm like, wait a second, I've met Karen. I don't know how that's possible. What's your background? Like, how did you get into the multifamily housing industry?
So my parents have always been buying new properties, and at one point they had, I want to say, at least 600 units in Cincinnati. So my dad would take me around and help do demolition, and like I would actually be in there trashing apartments out, painting, doing drywall. I even soldered. I've done a lot.
That's fun.
Yeah. So I just pretty much was my dad's helper, and I mean, I've been writing bids and doing everything since I was probably around 12.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, good for you. And I know you have another background that I read a little bit about, and you've talked about openly. Share what you did before you came to BRG.
The real estate?
The military experience. Yeah.
So I'm a prior service veteran. I did serve in the Army as a combat camera. I was fortunate enough to do public affairs and have some really cool assignments. I got to travel around the world quite a bit. So I've worked in the Pentagon. I've worked on Air Force 2 missions. I've worked with foreign dignitaries and generals.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've had some really great assignments.
So property management might not seem as hectic and crazy to you as it does to some of us because you've got that experience.
Yes. I feel like property management is pretty low-key.
You're like, I've been in the Army, so nothing surprises me.
Yeah, no. Ooh. So, yeah, and I mean, my background is in photography and the, press releases, media escorting, and video production.
Well, that must come in handy, though, in property management, too, because there are quite a few public relations incidents in property management, so having someone with that background must be helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
I heard you chatting with Chris when we walked in about some of your assignments and your photography and whatnot. What was one of the best projects that you did?
I made a documentary for the Pentagon, which I received an award for.
Wow.
So that was something I've always been really proud of.
Do you want to share it with us? If you'd like to share it, I'd be happy to put a link to it or something on your post later today, or invite people to reach out to you, because if your award-winning A photographer or documentary maker, that's exciting. I don't know anyone like that.
I'm not that cool.
Oh, well,
but thank you.
You're being modest, I'm sure, but that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Well, what's one of your, getting back to the property management field here, what's one of your most memorable property management stories?
So I'd say my most memorable property management story is when I was a child, and my dad, we went out and we acquired a bunch of houses throughout Cincinnati. And one in particular, we spent the most money and the most time in. I carried shingles up ladders. I stripped the walls. I remember, this one whole wall was just covered in mirrors.
Oh,
and
wow.
it was my job to take a hammer and, demo
wow.
the whole thing, take it out to the dumpster. So we worked on that for a whole summer.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ended up leasing that out to somebody. And then next thing you know, my dad's like, we're going to eviction court.
Oh, no!
So we had to go in and trash that out. And then the most memorable thing about it is that I had to clean the refrigerator. And obviously the electric was shut off for a while, so I'm no stranger to that
Smells?
side of property management. Yeah.
Right.
So
wow,
that was probably my most memorable.
So it was not a pleasant go quietly kind of eviction. It was go to
No.
court, clean out the
We
whole
took
apartment.
everything to the curb.
Oh.
We did that quite often, but
Yeah.
it was yeah.
That's funny. I remember one of my most memorable times is the very first time we had to set someone's step out on the curb. I'm like, that's a real thing. You really have to do that. Sometimes people really just don't move and it all has to go out. That's unbelievable if you haven't actually done it and seen it.
We would deliver notices
Right.
and there'd be no response, and
Right.
then that's what we had to do, change the locks and move it out.
Right. Well, so you kind of grew up in the real estate business. You worked for BRG on site, and now you're at the corporate level as a recruiter. What do you like about being in this role as a recruiter?
I love being a recruiter because I feel like it plays to all my strengths. As far as I like to talk to people. I love using social media to utilize recruiting tools, as well as, cutting press releases and things to bring about more publicity.
Right.
So I feel like it just really plays on my strengths as well as my teammates. I love everyone I work with. But BRG is the best culture I've ever been a part of.
Oh, that's great. Well,
Yeah.
having so many friends that work for BRG, I would second that. That's wonderful.
It's really nice.
Well, good. And I'll tell you, too, I think I've worked with a lot of different recruiters, and it's very helpful when you have someone who's been in the position that they're trying to, hire for. Like, you've been on site. So if you're recruiting for the site level, you can speak to what that's about and why it's such a great career and what the career path might look like for someone. So
Yeah.
that you're doing a really great job.
Thank you.
Well, what advice would you offer up, Karen, to folks who are just getting into the business?
I would say for someone getting into property management, while it's not that hard for me, just because my background's so diverse, I would say that it's definitely not for the faint of heart, especially, if there's an emergency or a fire,
Right.
you have to get the Red Cross involved,
Right.
or, domestic dispute. So it goes a lot beyond just trashing out apartments.
Right.
It's dealing with the people.
Right.
So,
One thing that I just thought of as you were saying that, because you spoke about your diverse background, is the great thing about property management is that you can really come from so many different walks of life and different fields in your past life before you get into property management. I've hired servers who are the best salespeople and the best operations people ever, retail managers, veterans, healthcare workers, teachers. We've really hired people, I think, and I've worked with people who have had experience in so many different performers, even, walks of life, and they've come over to property management because what we do is different every single day, and there are different specialties within our industry even that can highlight people's different strengths and comfort levels. So
for sure.
That's a really great point. I didn't think about it like that. All right, well, can we switch gears and get to know you a little bit more on a personal level?
Yeah.
All right, well, first of all, tell us about your family.
I come from a huge Catholic family.
Yeah.
There's probably thousands of people I'm related to in the tri-state. That's not a joke. I had to leave here to find a husband.
That's hilarious.
So I am married. I've been married 14 years.
Congrats.
I have 3 wonderful children. And I'm really fortunate to have, really just been raised by both of my grandparents and my parents.
So this is very funny, and I have to kind of interject here because one of our questions is, do you have pets? And you said 3, and you named their names. So I walked in here and I said, well, do you have cats or dogs or gerbils or tarantulas? Like, what do you have? And you said...
Children.
You have 3 children that you call your pets.
Yeah, my 3 boys are my pets.
Right.
And if you came to my house, you'd agree. They're quite wild.
That's funny. And you have 3 boys, you said, so lots of testosterone in your home.
Yes, definitely.
How do you balance that?
I would say when I get home, my kids run and hide.
Yeah.
So they, as soon as I get home, they scramble to the sink, the dishwasher, whatever they need to do that they should have already done or been doing.
Right.
So, I mean, I'd say we just have a really strict schedule. And just being prior service, I mean, I still send my kids out. Like, if they're seeming a little too aggressive or have too much energy, I make them go run.
There you go.
Do sit-ups, push-ups, and we just kind of do it together as a team.
That's nice.
And then, they don't feel left out or anything. But...
So you probably didn't know this at the time that you were in the Army, but you were preparing to be a boy mom.
Yes.
That was what your boot camp and your Army days were all about, was getting the skill set you needed to, like... And house 3 boys.
For sure. And I do take all of my boys out every weekend alone for individual dates.
Oh, I love that.
So we go hiking. We, this last weekend, we went to lunch and we got on a scooter and rode around Cincinnati.
Nice. So you take them out individually?
Yes, individually.
Yeah.
So they definitely, as strict in things that I am, they still feel really loved.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Yeah.
Do they get along together?
Kind of.
Yeah.
They're like about 50-50.
Right. You were talking about your middle son is 8, and I have an 8-year-old, and we were kind of talking about just how sweet that is.
Yeah.
Does the 8-year-old, is he the peacekeeper? Like, is he the...
Yeah, so my 8-year-old, he's the sweetest one. He's the one that gives me cuddles and all the love I need.
Yeah.
My 12-year-old, I can barely get to move her at this point. And my 6-year-old's all over the place.
Right.
So.
Well, that's fun. Well, what do you guys like to do in your spare time?
So I take the boys canoeing, and I've been doing a lot of hiking. So I'm just starting to get into backpacking with the kids now that my youngest is 6.
What part of town do you live in?
I live in northern Kentucky.
Okay.
So we hang out.
I do a lot of that as well, but I live north of here, and there are just some great parks. I mean, I'm sure Kentucky has great parks as well, but that is like one of my favorite things to do. We'll have to compare notes about which parks you have found that you like. Yeah.
Yeah, biking as well. I take them roller skating.
Fun.
I'm pretty active with the boys. So.
Well, you would have to be, right? You're like, boys are not going to sit around.
No, they are not.
Well, that's fun. I bet they love having a mom that doesn't make them sit around or do things that are, not outside and fun.
Their friends are just showing up all the time. Like,
you're going to be the house,
down at our dinner table.
Yeah. You're going to be the house where everybody just gathers all the time.
We have to put up like 5 chairs over the weekend because my son's friends just won't leave.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't have the heart to say.
Wouldn't you rather be the house that they come to than your kids be gone all the time?
Yeah, I try to make it a good environment.
That's fine.
So, it is.
Well, so with your family, you said they are your pets. I'm assuming no other pets in the house?
No.
Are they hitting you up for any?
They want a dog, but I just don't think I could handle a dog.
Well, I'm sure they've promised you they'll take care of the dog, though, right?
They have.
They're like, Mom, we'll do whatever.
So we tried to house sit a dog, and it didn't go well.
No.
That's Nobody would clean up after the dog. They fought more than normal. It was just not a good situation.
I'm going to commend you, and I actually am going to need some advice on how you've been able to say no. I'm not even going to get into the pets that I have in my house with one child, but holy cow. Good for you for standing strong on that. Are your boys into sports at all? Watching or playing?
Yeah, so my boys play Cub Scouts, or they're in Cub Scouts and Scouts. We've had swimming, basketball, soccer, football. I mean, we're pretty busy.
Right.
So that was part of the whole house sitting a dog. I said we have to take the dog to the sports field.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's fun.
So,
especially if it's a barking dog, barking at all the other dogs. you?
It didn't go over well football practice.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I mean, they're really into sports, so.
Well, that's fun. Do you follow sports too? Any professional sports or anything?
Not really. I typically just whatever my kids are in is what I follow.
There you go.
I'm so busy with the boys.
Oh, I bet. Do you guys, what's one of your favorite foods to enjoy?
So I love Indian food and Filipino food.
Do your kids like that too?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
I make it at home quite often
Really?
from scratch. Yeah.
Wow. How did you get the love of Indian and Filipino food?
So when I was in the military, I was stationed in D.C.
Okay.
And I would just go out to try new foods, and once I had Indian food, that was it.
Really?
Yes.
Do you like sitting down at the table on your knees and the whole environment, or is just the food really good?
I love the whole environment, the whole culture of it. I like experiencing new cultures.
That's cool.
But, I mean, my kids love curry.
Oh, really?
They love spice.
Yeah.
So, the more the better.
Do you guys have, like, a Jungle Jim's type store in Northern Kentucky, or do you go to Jungle Jim's to get all of that?
I have been there, but I typically just keep different spices on hand and throw them in. So,
fun.
And then my kids add more hot sauce.
Oh, wow.
I know, right?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, it's not just like a pizza and chicken nuggets kind of household. You guys are eating, like,
never
sophisticated
had chicken nuggets.
That's hilarious.
Our pizzas are, like, typically handmade dough, and we, put all of our toppings on. Yeah.
My goodness, your boys are lucky.
Yeah,
well,
it's fun.
A couple more questions about you, although you're welcome to talk about the boys all the time. What do you like to do in your spare time? Do you do anything for yourself? Any downtime for yourself, or read, anything like that?
Yeah, so I just finished reading 30-Second Philosophies. I've been reading a lot of books lately.
Okay.
I'm also an avid sewer, so
really?
I like to quill and make homemade blankets.
Fun.
It's kind of the love of sewing my grandma gave to me.
Okay. What do you make them as gifts, or do you sell them, or what's your
Typically, when I come home, like last Friday, my husband comes up to me. I have this leather jacket that I need. I need altered.
You do repairs. I see.
Yeah, so I do alterations as well, but it's mainly just my family.
Right.
I designed all my boys' rooms, so I want them to have custom, blankets and curtains.
Yeah,
so I made
that's
them.
Neat.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I wore a dress last Monday that I sewed.
Really?
And I got the most compliments here at BRG, and I was like, well, I sewed this.
That's what. Okay, so I have a funny little story. I took my son, we were out, it was right after the holidays, and we went to a fabric store. I think it was like a Joann fabric store.
Yeah.
And we were looking for something specific. And we walked in, and all of the material and the fabric was there. And he was like, what is this for? Like, he was amazed. He'd never seen anything like that. And then they were selling patterns to make clothing and stuff. And he was like, people can make their own clothing? And I was like, well, I can't. No one I know can. But yes, there are very talented people who sew it and like put it all together and do that. And he was fascinated. We talked about it for probably 2 days about how some people actually make their own.
Well, I grew up watching The Sound of Music, so,
Uh-oh. Don't make me go down that road of the Broadway shows. That's fun. And your grandmother taught you how to sew?
Yeah, actually, my first communion, she brought me a professional sewing machine, and I still use it today.
That very one?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm taking really good care of it.
I bet.
It works great.
How old are you at your first communion? 12 or 13?
Yeah, no, I would have been 8, and I'm almost 35.
Oh, wow. That is really special.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, I want to see some of your work. I want to see the dress you wore last week.
Okay,
That's exciting.
I'll wear it in for you.
Please do. I can't think of anyone. I know people who crochet. And I have a cousin who sews, and she does blankets and things like that, but I can't think of anyone that I've ever known to do their own clothing. That's fascinating.
It's not that hard, I promise.
Well, I think it's probably a skill set that you would have to practice to make it look like, acceptable clothing.
Yeah.
I could probably sew a sleeve on a shirt and it not look very good. I do my own buttons, though. I do that.
Yeah, that's handy.
That's funny. What about TV or movies? What's one of your favorite?
I don't typically watch what a lot of people want to watch. Like, when it's like, let's go to the movies, what do you want to watch? I'm like, what deep space movies are out? I'm kind of a nerd in that sense. I love disaster movies.
That's what I was going to reference. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone say my favorite movie type is disaster movies.
I love disaster movies, like an oil rig exploding or the sun coming to hit the earth.
What's the Will Smith disaster movie?
Oh, let me think.
Didn't he have
Independence
Armageddon
Day?
Day?
Oh, yeah,
Or
Armageddon. There's
yeah.
a couple.
Yeah. Independence Day was Will Smith.
Yeah, that's another one.
Wow.
So-
See, those give me anxiety. I'm like, can I watch some sappy love movie or something?
I really don't watch those. So, like, I feel like in my household, I'm a good mom.
Yes.
So, they're like,
into all the
shark
things the boys like.
movies. Those are awesome. I consider those disaster movies.
I would say
kind
so.
of, but-
Any shark infested water, it sounds like a disaster to me.
Yeah.
Well, what's one of the best concerts that you've attended, Karen?
So, the best concert I've ever attended is Josh Groban.
This made me like you so much more than I already did. But he is my absolute favorite, and you just don't find people who appreciate.
I love him.
Okay, so you're younger, and so you might not have known this, but did you ever know the show Ally McBeal?
I've heard of it.
Okay, so Josh Groban, when he was like a child, I'm talking like a teenager for sure, was on this show, and it was I don't know how he came to like meet the main character.
Yeah.
And he sang, I think, To Where You Are, which is one of his very first songs.
Yeah, it's a good song.
And he's a kid. And I'm like, a young girl anyway. And I was like, I love that man. Like, I need to marry that man. I love him so much. And ever since then, and then he kind of got mainstream popular, you need to Google Josh Groban, Ally McBeal, and you will never be the same. What do you like about Josh Groban? Where was the concert?
So the concert was here in Cincinnati. I want to say Riverbend.
Okay.
I went with my grandpa.
Oh, wow.
I had free tickets, and I was asking everybody, like, will someone please go with me to this? Because I just love Josh Groban. He just moves me.
I know.
You know?
Something else is, and if you've not seen this, there was I forget the name of the guy that writes all the songs, and he's really close to him. Like, I forget, David somebody.
I don't know his
He
name.
wrote Bridge Over Troubled Water. Well, there is Josh Groban and Brian McKnight singing Bridge Over Troubled Water.
I love that song.
It's the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's amazing. Like, I have so many people, I'm like sending this link, you gotta watch this, you gotta watch this. They're like, you're such a dork. I'm like, how does this not move you? It's amazing.
Almost every night when we eat dinner, I put on classical music and I sneak Josh Groban in
there.
But I mean, when I went to his concert, he sang, it was so amazing that I just wept.
Yeah. His voice is very special.
Really moved me. And then he kept coming out playing different instruments.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know if you've ever seen him in concert,
no, I have
but
not.
He is the most talented musician I've ever seen play.
I just love his voice, and I follow him on Instagram too, and he's just such a great guy, and he loves his family, and it's just he's inspiring to me.
I love
and
him.
Not mainstream, so he just does what he does him, and I think that's incredible. Well, fun. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think I could like her anymore, but I do. All right, if you could be an animal, what would you be and why?
I would probably be a bird.
Haven't had that one yet, I don't think. An eagle. I've had eagle, but...
I just think it would be amazing to fly.
I'll give you that.
That just seems like a really cool skill.
That makes me think of the Forrest Gump quote, "Dear God, please make me a bird so I can fly far, far away." I've said that in my head a time or two.
Yeah.
All right, so tell us about one of your best vacations.
So the best vacation, hands down, I've ever had was going to the Bahamas with my husband. We took a cruise there, but then we were fortunate enough to stay at Atlantis Resort.
Yeah.
And it was just absolutely amazing. We were alone.
Aww.
And it's the first...
Probably never happened in 12 years.
It's the first vacation we had alone in 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Without children. And actually, no, we just went to Vegas. So we've had 2 in 14 years.
Wow. Well, that's exciting.
Yes. Normally the kids come.
Yeah, and you can't talk about what happened in Vegas, so Bahamas was your best vacation, right?
Yes, you're actually right about that.
That's hilarious. Well, share a random detail about yourself that we wouldn't otherwise know. And we might have already talked about some of the random stuff, because I got so excited I brought up some of our offline conversation.
Yeah. So I know something really random about me, which is another reason I think I'm a good recruiter, is because I'm really OCD with Excel sheets and statistics.
Yeah.
So, if I have a lead, I put that in, and then I look at, just how the whole process flows and what we can do to make that better. So I track all of my personal budgets down to the penny and the ROI, and I have a meeting with my family every month.
I love that.
So my kids
Good
know
for
where we
you.
stand.
Yeah.
And it's like all public in the household. Everything's public.
Wow. Did your family do that? Like, what prompted you to have that
Yeah,
kind of...
I mean, I've always known where my family standed financially, especially with the multiple businesses that we've had.
I like that very much.
Yeah, my parents would invite us in.
Yeah.
Like, this is what this costs. This is what that costs.
Right.
And so...
Understand the value of money at a very early age.
Yeah, if we bought a new business or company, then we'd have to, reinvest in something or figure out what we were going to do. So we always worked as a team, so that's just what I do.
I like that. Well, that's great. I need to meet your boys. They sound like they're going to be very prepared for the real world. I like it.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
You never know.
Right. Well, I think I have covered all of our questions, but did I leave anything out, or is there anything else you want to share? Any parting words?
No, it's just nice. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for agreeing, and it's been great to get to know you. I really appreciate you speaking up in the social media committee meetings. I know when I first started getting involved, I didn't say very much early on, and we've got new folks like yourself. You're like, hey, let me tell you from my perspective, here's what I think. And our last social media committee meeting actually was like the best ever. I was so on fire after that meeting. I'm like, every meeting we have needs to be like this because everyone at the table spoke up. So
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing your baby picture yesterday too. That was adorable and so much fun. If you didn't guess correctly, I think we ended up getting a guess. But it was Clare riding, well, I don't think you were riding a stuffed tiger, but you were sitting on top of a very fierce looking animal. So thank you for sharing that.
From a safari.
Was it really? Oh, wow.
So
that was awesome. Well, thank you for being our very first Throwback Thursday. We're going to try to do more of that. Yeah. And she's like, we just started asking people to share the baby pictures, but I'm like, I don't know if people are going to want to do that. And then we get one like yours. So we got to top that next week. We better be on the lookout here. Well, thank you again, Karen. It's been great to sit down with you. Thank you for distracting us from it being Friday the 13th and the end of one of the craziest weeks of my adult life. Probably everybody out there's adult life. So thank you again. Hope you have a great weekend. Happy St. Patrick's Day weekend to everyone. And we will not see you next week, but we will see you very soon. And please, again, everyone out there, stay safe. And if you need anything, if we could be a resource to you, don't hesitate to reach out to the association. Have a great weekend, everyone.